Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Convention with the continuation of the weekly comic book roundup, and now we'll be moving on to this week's Avengers books. Yes, that's right. We actually got enough Avengers-related books this week to give them their own video in the roundup. Kicking things off with Avengers number 35, Part 3 of the Age of Khonshu. Where we left off, Moon Knight and Khonshu had taken over Earth, and in fact, the Avengers were on the run. Those that weren't captured already. Khonshu killed Mephisto with Mjolnir, but Black Panther made his escape, while Captain Marvel and Iron Man, the last two remaining free Avengers, were doing everything they could to protect the Starbrand baby. So the issue begins 1 million years ago. Without him, our nights would be dreadfully dark, our weather wild and extreme, our waters all but still. Without him, calling down to us every night, looming so tantalizingly close, perhaps we never would have flown beyond our own atmosphere, never set foot on another world. Most have no idea, and I do, but still hate to admit it, that without the god of the moon, we'd all be lost. For he has been with us all this time, all of our time, treating us all like his fists, ever scheming for the one blood-red night when the respect and adoration he has long so desperately craved would finally be within his moonlit grasp. We get this really awesome splash, by the way, of the first of the 1 million BC Moon Knight facing the Avengers of 1 million BC. And it turns out that the Moon Knight of 1 million BC had, he had his own little army. Gods help us, that night has come. Cut to now, in New Thebes City, which was formerly known as the island of Manhattan. Khonshu is speaking to his followers and explaining he was there when the Celestial fell. What he refers to was shown in Marvel Legacy #1 a few years ago. A diseased Celestial fell to Earth, and because of that Celestial, life went the way on Earth went the way it did. This included, certain leaps in evolution. But Khonshu also saw the Starbrand comet attempt to stop the spread of the infection from the diseased Celestial. He has guardians coming down to be worshipped. He's always been here, quietly guiding humanity through the long night of their own evolutionary fumbling. Yet when the great powers of the prehistoric world first united, they did so without Khonshu. As if the Lord of the Moon was not even worth their notice. And so Khonshu wonders if they noticed him now. One of the priests explains that the great salvation of the Moon's less luminous satellite continues, and they regret to report that the year's fortification progresses slower than forecast, and there remain heavy pockets of resistance in Washington, D.C., Moscow, Krakoa, and beneath the seas. However, every hour more mummified acolytes are being conjured from the realms beyond, and more moon-powered pyramids erected at strategic points along global ley lines. But Khonshu realizes that the power he has is not enough. We go back to Moon Knight's narration explaining that there's still a hole inside him. A hole full of fear. Khonshu's dreams are still rife with visions of burning Earths, with moons of screaming metal and comets of melted human flesh, with hell on a cosmic scale. Khonshu knows he will need more. He will need it all. The Panther resists. The Phoenix hovers just beyond their reach. The new Starbrand is the key. Find the Starbrand, or the Earth will die. The priest also mentions that the moon train runs tonight with a special cargo that they prepared as a lure to the lashers of resistance within the capital. And it is the priest's hope that with the help of Khonshu's fist, they might be able to actually stop the center of resistance. Khonshu explains that Moon Knight has his own mission. However, something stirs and Khonshu dismisses his acolytes as a portal opens within the throne room. And out steps, well, Cowboy Mephisto. Yes. Cowboy Mephisto, everyone. Khonshu is thusly accused of the unpardonable crime of murdering Mephisto, and for this he shall pay the ultimate price, at the hands of Mephisto. Wielding revolvers that fire brimstone bullets, make soul-piercing rounds. Elsewhere in the city, Blade, Captain America, and Hulk are going after the moon train. Blade confirms with his vampire senses that someone in particular is on the moon train. Hulk does kind of poke fun at him a little, saying he's got that Wolverine kind of nose. So Blade states there's not a damn thing about him that's Canadian. And so now, actually, Hulk is still Jen, so normal human Jen Walters. And so, as the train comes towards her, tell herself to think angry thoughts, politics, student loans, the Knicks. That's enough to Hulk her out, and she punches the train, stopping it, and Blade and Cap get aboard. They give Cap gives Khonshu's disciples the opportunity to get off the train if they want. Cap orders Blade to, no mortal wounds. As the three Avengers enters into the next car, the disciples there decided they will stand strong and fight for Khonshu to the bloody end, no matter what comes to the door. However, Cap does explain that they're the Avengers, and Khonshu's disciples should think about the next few seconds of their life very carefully. And the disciples are like, okay, good point. Inside in the final car, the Avengers find Iron Fist, Doctor Strange, and Robbie Reyes, seemingly in a coma, except for Robbie, who explains that Thor is buried in the sky, and that Moon Knight and Khonshu aren't done. And Robbie further explains that, Moon Knight didn't just steal his car, but also somehow the spirit of vengeance itself. And he's using it. Elsewhere, Iron Man and Captain Marvel are fending off Khonshu's forces. And the reality of events is actually getting to Iron Man. the fact that they have a baby. In fact, a baby super weapon. He even says what are they? The X-Men now? And isn't this the exact thing that the Avengers went to war with them one time with the Phoenix? Though Carol does point out, Captain Marvel points out that it was Iron Man who said they were a family. And they realize that the Starbender doesn't even actually have a name. But Carol finally broaches the question of what happened to him back in time. Because apparently he came back from the Stone Age with a 1,000-yard stare that she's never seen him have before. But he explains that he's so good at imagining the future because he's scared to death of the past. Going on to add that he shouldn't be anywhere near a baby, especially one that could grow up to destroy the world if it isn't raised right. He'd rather be fighting Galactus and the Beyonder and nothing but his boxers. That's what he's built for. He also swears off sex because by realizing that protecting the child feels like the most important job he's ever had, and that he kind of wonders if that's what it feels like to be a parent. So yeah, no more sex for him ever again. But yeah, it's also, so he tries to come up with a name, but yeah, best he can come up with is Brandy Star, which is great if she happened to be a 1980s soap opera character. However, as he's having his little freak out, Moon Knight shows up, wraps Carol in Ghost Rider's chains, and drags her in the trunk of the Hell Charger. And tells Tony to give him the baby. It's the only way to end this. To begin the fight. However, before Tony fires, all weapons, full power, shoot to kill. Moon Knight says that hell is all they'll have left if he doesn't finish what he starts. If they let Mephisto win, which gives Tony pause. Carol manages to fight her way out of the Hell Charger's trunk. Wonders what's going on because, well, yeah. But Moon Knight's about to hit the baby with one of those funky onks when Carol grabs him and flies all of them away. She asks what Moon Knight said to him, and he says all Moon Knight had to say was a name. He's seen the rest for himself, and that Khonshu won't stop looking for the kid. And Carol explains she can do far away. Back in New Thebes City, yet another Mephisto falls at the hands of Khonshu. And Khonshu opines that if Mephisto's plan is that Khonshu will get tired of killing him, well, the plan's actually kind of working. As he's apparently so far murdered 100 Mephistos on this day. But he's now more afraid of Mephisto than ever. And staring at the pile of dead Khonshus, or of dead Mephistos, Khonshu exclaims that he needs more power. The Starbrand, the Phoenix, the Panther. Well, which is when the Panther shows up, telling Khonshu to look him in his eyes, and that one of them will break today, this day, and it will not be the Black Panther. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to Captain America, number 22. Where we left off, Cap and Bucky and Falcon were in the small American town that had been basically taken over by Selene, and Selene had discovered the truth of who they were and mind controlled the people to go up against to take them on. I'm actually starting to think that we'll learn at the end of the story arc that this happens before House of X and Powers of 10, because, well, I somehow doubt the Quiet Council would be so willing to let Selene do this, elsewhere. We begin at the Carter estate in Virginia. Sharon is asking Tony Ho for updates, if there are any updates. Nothing from Agatha Harkness, but she's got a line on Madripoor. But they might get 2 to 3 minutes. So, since Misty Knight and Peggy Carter managed to find General Ross and rescue him, well, they get a hold of him. We also had a quick explanation that Madripoor's police runs a crude disruptor frequency that keeps a lid on illicit communications, but they can get through for a few minutes. So, Sharon's glad to see that Ross is alive, though she guesses that he can't in any good faith say the same of her. And Ross says the only faith he cares about is faith in his country, and if she's referring to the Alberia operation, it was a double cross, but not by him. After all, look how he ended up. And so she does kind of ask how he's alive. Start to ask how he's alive. LMD. With Peggy noting that it's actually quite marvelous what they've done with LMDs. As in her day, if you scratch the skin, you got circuitry. And now, synthetic flesh, blood, and bone. Almost a real person. Almost a real body. And so Ross explains that the ties with Alexa Lukin dates back to during Secret Empire. She led a successful band of partisans in southern Siberia. When they got back up on their feet, she provided the government with intel on several sleeper cells, which also boosted the president's popularity. And as his poll numbers got higher, he was putting Alexa's hands, and well, the president does love blondes. However, Ross never bought Lucan's act. He remembers the Cold War. Once a Ruskie, always a Ruskie, he says. So he started digging and asking questions. However, too many questions, and so Lucan decided to kill 2 birds with one shield. But at that point, Ross was in the wind and leaving the LMD to cover his tracks. He did follow the paper trail to Madripoor, and he found them, but the signal gets cut off, and all we hear after that he found something is a plot to and then first strike. However, something's happened with Steve and his team. And so, back in Adamsville, Ohio, Bucky, Cap, and Falcon are facing a combination of demons and mind-controlled townsfolk, and, of course, Selene. Falcon goes in to help Cap, but and does manage to hold off a few blasts from Selene with his wings, but telekinetically thrown shrapnel, that's a little different, and does bring him to the ground. So Selene comes for him, and then, however, Cap notices that Selene's hold on the townsfolk ends when she actually gets to fighting all of them. Cap manages to save Bucky with the shield, or not Bucky, Falcon. Falcon then smacks Selene a bit, but in all honesty, Selene is out of the league of all three of them combined. Keep in mind, this is the same Selene that was mentioned in Excalibur number 11. She is an immortal mutant, one of the oldest. There's some debate between her and Apocalypse as to which of them was the first mutant. But Cap, Falcon, and Bucky, they're sure as hell gonna try. And so a couple allies show up back at headquarters. This is with Liberty. First, Agatha Harkness. Then, Shuri, who insists upon helping. But Sharon decides that she's sick of sitting back while others risk their lives for her. Back in Ohio, things are not going well for Cap, and it seems as though Selene has managed to take down both Winter Soldier and Falcon. She strips off her cape, and she says some rather, we'll just say, unkind words about America. Cap gets a few hits in when she gets close. Though Selene does soon enough gain the upper hand, while Tony preps Sharon or something. And just as Selene is about to drain Steve's life force, she's shot in the back by a repulsor blast from the Iron Patriot armor, worn by Sharon Carter. And that is where the issue ends, as a portal opens above the sky and Shuri and undoubtedly others arrive. Which brings us to our next book of the video, Thor, number 6. Where we left off, the Black Winter had found Thor and Galactus and revealed that so the issue begins in the golden city of Asgard, in the throne room of King Thor. Later, as the Surfer flies into the throne room on his board. Remarking on the change of architecture of the Bifrost and wanting to know what happened. And also kind of saying, hey, I've been a herald too, but if you need to talk, you can talk. I know what you're going through. And so, now, the Black Winter has revealed that he's not here to destroy the universe. He's simply here for Galactus. He gave Galen top power. They made it. Apparently, a promise was made. Galen is spared and serves the Black Winter. And Thor Thor and Galactus have at it now. Thor explaining he's going to destroy the Black Winter, and then he'll deal with Galactus. And Thor drains Galactus of all his power cosmic. Explaining he will deal with the Black Winter. But if the Black Winter wants Galactus, then to be honest, the Winter can have him. And he once again hits Galactus with a massive blast, stating, "Galem Ta, on behalf of the countless planets you have destroyed and laid barren in your wake, for Archaeopia, for Masikron, for Eleanor 143, for Draven Bar, for Clips, for Silas, for IO-X4, for Vanish Ivy for I don't know. I'm not sure what that. It's not 9. For Cryo, for Corbin, for Zenla, for Earth, for Asgard. I sentence you to death." And with this cosmically, and Thor cosmically empowered throws the Mjolnir directly at Galactus, hitting him square in the chest, leaving a desiccated husk in his wake. Though, that's not the end of Galactus. The Black Winter thanks Thor, and asks him to move aside, and he'll take Galen and, leave the universe with its own fate. However, Thor states that the Winter will take nothing. And there was lightning, all of it unleashed by a god-made king, and burning inside of it the full might of the immeasurable power cosmic, the bleeding life force of a universal constant, the energy of 100,000 devoured worlds. And then, in the falling ash of winter, amid the graveyard of a world destroyer, there was Thor, and the end of everything. And all that remains of the Black Winter is a small snowflake. It lands in his hand, in Thor's hand, and states that Thor has won nothing. His end cannot be stopped, and it is coming. Before the Black Winter is no more, he asks if Thor wants to see it, how he will die. And Thor says yes. Flashback, we cut back to the later portion. Galactus' headpiece now sits on the Bifrost. It's actually kind of neat looking, actually. So, one of the few shots I'm definitely showing from this issue. Not the last shot you're going to see from it, that's for damn sure. So the Surfer says that tells Thor there's a part of him that feels mournful for Galactus, to know that his journey began such as his own. Though Thor states that he'll spare no tears for Galactus. What is done is done. Though the Surfer agrees that it needed doing. But then Surfer broaches the question. When Thor looked into what did the Black Winter show him? What it showed him is this. Yeah, that's Thanos with Mjolnir, with the Infinity Gems in it. And apparently, best I can figure, one of Null's gauntlets. And an army of zombified heroes behind him. And Thor simply states he saw darkness and nothing more. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our next book of the week, Spider-Woman #3. Where we left off, Spider-Woman, who is doing the bidding of a billionaire with a sick daughter, had to go up against the daughter of one of her former Hydra contacts, and in fact, the Hydra contact she has long since killed. And but said daughter did leave her rather cryptic comment about family. So we start off. The book opens with Spider-Woman fighting monsters, opining on on the things she's fought, aliens, malevolent beings, twisted things from this world and beyond. But the worst monsters she's fought look human. They give their empathy, their compassion, the inherent ability to look beyond themselves, to care about other people, the things that make us human. And she's kind of glad punching these monsters that at least they look like monsters. They look how she feels. The previous day, the billionaire she's been working for is studying the spiders she got from Octavia Vernis. When his daughter arrives, and her daughter does seem to be the only thing that manages to keep Jessica calm and from truly going off on the guy. We also learn that that Spider-Woman has sent her son off to stay with his father on his farm upstate. And we get some shots of how that's going, which that there needs to be once the story goes over, there needs to be a single standalone issue of Jerry's adventures on the farm. Back with Jessica and her benefactor, their building's under attack. Jessica explains to him that, hey, there's a mole here. Don't know who it is, but you've got one. Well, the mole outs himself as being one of the scientists who's now holding a gun to Michael's daughter, to Rebecca's head, the young girl. So, Jess saves the girl. They head up to the helipad on the roof. There are armed troops waiting, though Jess makes short work of them as they go off to a airstrip outside the city. They can take the jet from there to a place where they will be safe. So, dude flight takes off. Jess gets some sleep. Her and Rebecca talk a bit. And then they get attacked by additional jets. Jess takes the pilot seat and does a little bit of fancy flying and manages to cause the jets to crash. However, it does seem that they didn't really have a chance to fuel the plane up. And she's trying to land. And they land. And, there's a saying, any crash you walk away from is a good crash. But Jessica still doesn't know where they've landed. And they're suddenly attacked by dinosaurs in the snow. Rebecca's trying to get her dad to tell Jess what's going on, while Jess is fighting the dinosaurs. Then she realizes just where they are. Wundagore. And now Jess is a little mad. Until a shadowy figure arrives, asking Jessica to please stop abusing her pets and Jessica's brother. The shadowy figure is referred to by Rebecca as Grandma. And it's revealed to be, of course, Jessica's mother. So yeah, Rebecca's Jessica's niece. Fun times. I'm sure all will be explained in due. I'm sure all will be explained soon enough. Okay, some of it will be, yes. Which brings us to the last book of the video, Ant-Man #5. Where we left off. Well, you know what? No, I'm just gonna actually read the recap page. So, Macrothrax took control of Bug Lords to take over world. Ant-Man and Stinger only one stand in way. Look, Elephant Hawkmoth knows Ant's good at recapping story, but that's not how this moth rolls. You read first 4 issues or no read. Moth has things to pollinate. There. Okay. In Antarctica, as the Bug Lords were in the Savage Land, a couple Spanish scientists have seen something very odd, and it seems to be a storm, but the satellites say what the satellites are showing doesn't look like a storm. It's not a storm, but rather a swarm. So, as the Macrothrax-controlled Bug Lords fly off, Cassie and Scott look up, and Cassie asks what she's looking at. And Scott says, oh, 2 condensized Bug Lords. Figuring that's how Macrothrax spent the last of their pin particles. And, well, Cassie's kind of embarrassed that Macrothrax took her helmet, so she's getting it back. And, he kind of... And she's like, she's got to stop him. But he's just like, I'm your dad. You can't ask me to let you fight Macrothrax alone. So she says, okay, fine. I'm not going to ask. And flies off to do it. Meanwhile, however, after she flies off, Vitrock, one of the Bug Lords killed by Macrothrax, attacked by Macrothrax, drags Scott to him and asks him to hear his words and witness his death. Macrothrax does the whole megalomaniacal villain thing, and yeah. When Stinger shows up, he's actually curious as to how it is that Stinger survived, and she kind of says, I have wings. Pay attention. Well, yeah, he's going to, and she doesn't like the sound of that, which is probably good because she probably gets attacked by, well, Macrothrax. Oh yeah, and Macrothrax pulls the wings off her costume and then tosses her off his flying bug, his ginormous flying bug. So Vitrax's words to Scott. He knows why Scott's there, not because Macrothrax stole the pin particles, not because he threatens, as Vitrax calls them, the smooth apes, but because Macrothrax killed Scott's ants. He killed Pamela. Scott's kind of surprised that Vitrax knows about Pamela, and Vitrax explains the World Hive connects all and sees Scott. Scott travels to Savage Land because he lost an ant and he is sad. And also, Scott talks to bugs, but also listens. He is a friend of the World Hive. Scott kind of says all he is out of pin particles, right when he has to stop 2 giant bug monsters. But Vitrax says that's not all he is. Scott listens, so the World Hive listens too. And so Vitrax is going to join the other Hive, but he has asked the World Hive for one last thing. That the World Hive help you, because Scott is worthy. And so bugs begin swarming around and covering Scott. Back with Cassie, she's managed to climb back up to the top of Macrothrax's mount. as she managed to catch a hold of the side. And one of the other bug lords is told to, well, squash the mammal, and Cassie realizes she's the mammal. But Scott shows up, basically wearing a massive number of bugs as armor, which was very similar to the Guyver suit, but with the way it's drawn, there's just enough. Like, yeah, it might look kind of similar, but no, it's not. It's totally not that. Totally not. Macrothrax sees this as sacrilege. And the betrayal of the World Hive. Cassie tries to, do some big talk, saying that Macrothrax's teeth are about to betray him by leaving his mouth on her foot. Though he understood none of that. So she dumps it down to, I'm going to kick your ass, that's all you need to know. And so Scott continues to fight the Bug Lords. And the helmet is making the bug armor, a little confused. But Cassie insists that her dad, let her do this. In part because Macrothrax has her helmet. And so he decides she's got 60 seconds. But she got the helmet. And so she uses the helmet to tell all the bugs to deal with Macrothrax already. The two remaining Bug Lords decide that as Macrothrax has blasphemed against the Bug Lords, justice is demanded. Bug justice. Bug justice meaning they eat him. And so they get a couple moths to take them home, and Ant-Man tells the bugs to tell the Bug Lords to, thanks again, and they'll be back to shrink them down as soon as possible. Scott then opines that it would have been nice to the Avengers to see how serious this was, to see them save the world. But Cassie says that, yeah, maybe, but she saw him. And, he saw her. So they watched the sunset before leaving. But there's an epilogue. There are bees feasting on the remains of Vitrac. The bees that make up Swarm. Yeah, I know, Nazi bees. They're the friggin' worst, aren't they? And that's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.